All right, my friends, it is time for the holiday gift guide. We have got holiday season upon us. I know it came super fast this year, and I know that you've got a big shopping list that you have to deal with, and there are probably some gamers on there, so I've been playing tons of stuff all year long. I've got some great gift ideas for the game players in your life. Let's get started with EP's holiday gift guide, and we're going to start with some classic game collections, and these classic game collections generally are multi-platform, so you can play them on all kinds of stuff. I've got 3 ideas for you. 2 of them are from the same developer, Digital Eclipse. They made the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga collection, which is absolutely phenomenal. This collects all of the classic Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games from the NES, the SNES, the Genesis, the Game Boy, and also the first couple of arcade games, Turtles in Time and the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. All of these games have been lovingly crafted, and then there are tons of incredible details about the development of these titles in the museum that's included as part of this collection. The games run beautifully. There's some multiplayer online functionality with some of these games. They're hard. They don't take it easy on you, but it's an amazing monument to classic game design and also Konami's work with this franchise, where they really cared about what they were putting out there. These were licensed games that kind of set the bar. These were some of the best games, period, for these respective platforms, but they were also licensed titles, and licensed games usually get a bad rap, but here was Konami over-delivering with these awesome games, and Digital Eclipse knew that, so they handled this collection with a lot of love, and it's all very, very evident. This is a wonderful collection and an amazing gift to give to somebody. I would say the same thing about Atari 50, but I think you also have to kind of know who this is for. You know, this is for people that have either an appreciation for the classic days of Atari and remember a lot of these games for the Atari 2600 or the Atari computers or the Atari Lynx, which is amazing, the portable platform, the Atari Lynx, or the Atari Jaguar, because the games are also augmented with this interactive museum that lets you bounce through different eras, and you get interview bites and all kinds of textual details and visual details about how these games came together. A lot of other extras in here as well. So this is for fans of those classic Atari experiences, or for people that are getting into game development that really want to know about how video games kind of started and how developers tackled some of the big questions and challenges in their day to create games that surprised us and entertained us back then. But the other great thing that's included with the Atari 50 collection are all the augments, all of the new additions that Digital Eclipse put into this. They reimagined some classic Atari games. They finished uncompleted Atari games. They improved them. And this collection is just so lovingly crafted. It kind of sets the bar for how you would ever attempt to try to craft a classic game compilation from here on out. And if you've got any people that love retro games in your life, they're going to love Atari 50. And the other game that I think is absolutely worth mentioning, although it's not quite at the sort of level of the Cowabunga collection or Atari 50, is Capcom's Fighting Collection, which is out there for every platform. And this collected a bunch of the Darkstalker games, as well as Pocket Fighter, Red Earth, Hyper Street Fighter 2 is in here, and Cyberbots, which was a really fun surprise for me. I had never played that game before, and so it's really fun to jump into these tuned and beautifully animated 2D fighters that Capcom was just excelling at back in the day. Lots of incredible characters. Not as deep with the museum stuff. There's really not a lot of interviews and a lot of history, a little bit of that stuff, but it's just a great collection of awesome fighting experiences. So if you know you've got somebody in your life that likes retro stuff, maybe has other people in their household that like to play fighting games, this is a great one too. All right, let's switch over to some multi-platform games. So whether you have a PS5 or an Xbox platform or Nintendo Switch or PC, there's a good chance that each of these games would be available for that machine. And we're going to get started with Sifu, which I know isn't released yet for Xbox, but I think it eventually will be. Sifu was a great surprise this year from Slow Clap. It's kind of like playing a John Wick movie or the Raid Redemption or something. You have to survive just hordes and hordes of really talented martial artists. You are one yourself, but of course you get overwhelmed, so you've got to handle the timing and your offensive and defensive kind of moments properly, and it absolutely looks gorgeous no matter what you play play it on, but especially on the PlayStation 5, in my opinion, because of all the HDR lighting. It really, really blew me away when I played this game. So it's almost like an old classic brawler like Streets of Rage or something, but in 3D, where you're surrounded by all kinds of opponents, and the challenge is high, but the rewards are plentiful. It's very replayable. What an absolutely wonderful game Sifu is. And if we're talking about old school brawlers, plus one of the best of 2022, you can't not mention TMNT Shredder's Revenge. This is a Turtles game that the fine folks at Tribute have been working feverishly on for many years. They worked in partnership with .emu, which specializes in bringing the retro gaming world to modern day consoles and the PC. And that's exactly what Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge is. It feels like a full-on extension of all of those great classic Konami brawlers that we love so much. It's like the next iteration of what that Konami team would have done after Turtles in Time. It's so pixel perfect and beautiful, and you get the whole suite of all of the Turtles characters and the lore, and there's all kinds of hidden surprises. It's a lengthy brawler as well. It's a lot longer than a lot of the other sort of standard classic 2D brawlers are. You can play with 6 people together at the same time, which gets incredibly manic and crazy, but super fun as well. And you can play that online or locally. And it's wonderful on every single platform. I was able to test this out on pretty much everything. Xbox, PlayStation 5, Nintendo Switch, and the Steam Deck, and PC, and it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous game. It's sold really well, so there's a good chance that a Turtles fan in your life probably already has this, but if they don't, you're going to want to surprise them with this one. It's beautiful. One of the best games of the year is Bandai Namco and From Software's Elden Ring. This is a game that manages to merge the incredibly challenging and desolate and lonely and mysterious world of the Dark Souls kind of titles out there, where you've got a lot of challenge with regards to timing and how you deal and contend with the enemies that you're going to face in the title, but also with the vast exploration of something like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And that marriage, although a little bit incongruous on paper, because most of the From Software games have been so scripted and focused in how they pull the player along and force the moment-to-moment experience on the player. This one is really kind of, you make it up as you go. And so you can explore, and if you're having a difficult time with a particular boss in one area, you can back out and cruise around on the horse that pops out of your ring and can jump up to cliffs and find another boss that you might be able to manage. And then you'll collect the loot and augment your gear and find the better weapons. And eventually you'll kind of eke along and start defeating some of these bosses and feel like an incredible champion in this gorgeous, sumptuous environment that is just filled with lots of cool puzzles and mysteries to solve. It doesn't hold your hand. It lets you explore. It lets you fail. But God, it just is loaded with rewards. Breathtaking work. And it represents kind of the best that this medium has to offer right now. So if you do happen to have a player in your life that doesn't already have Elden Ring, you know what to do. Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga has to be on this multi-platform list. This is a game that runs incredibly well on whatever you play it on, including the Nintendo Switch, which surprised me because this is the most ambitious Lego game that's been built. Of course, it has baggage because we've all played a Lego game at some point. It also has some Star Wars baggage because not everybody was a big fan of the Disney trilogy that they just kind of botched, I think, a little bit with the way that they ended Rise of Skywalker. But there is so much content and so much in the Star Wars lore to explore in this game. It's absolutely stuffed with great moments and great characters and beautifully represented environments and ships. It's just a bounty. It's really a bounty. Plus all the John Williams music and the voice quips, and it's just a love letter to Star Wars. And TT Games, which has been making Lego games and Lego Star Wars games forever, really wanted to knock it out of the park. They worked their butts off to build something incredibly special, and they did just that. This is a marvelous game. Even if you're exhausted on Star Wars, even if you're exhausted on Lego, I kind of dare you not to have fun with Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. It's awesome. But make sure you check with whoever you might be buying this for that they don't already have it. Now, I've got 4 indie game titles that are multi-platform that might not be in everybody's household out there. I've got Tunic, which is an amazing game, beautiful, isometric. You play as this little fox with a sword, and you've got lots of cool little cute enemies to fight. It's very Zelda-esque. It's loaded with mystery. It's loaded with cool puzzles, and honestly, almost a Souls-like like a From Software-like level of challenge, but the rewards are incredible. And one of the coolest things in Tunic is that there is so much mystery in the game that the instruction book is part of what you pick up as you cruise along and you solve these puzzles and defeat these bosses and open these chests. You actually find pages of the instruction book that give you a little bit more information and give you some hints and give you some new mechanics. It's so cool, it's so well made, and the music and the art are absolutely sensational. It's a great pickup no matter where you play it. Tunic is awesome. I'd say the same thing about Rollerdrome, which is an action roller skating game. It's like basically you're shooting at bad guys while you're cruising around on roller skates. It's got a kind of 1970s sci-fi aesthetic. It's made by a company called Roll7, which has made these ollie-ollie skateboarding games, which have been more two-dimensional in their design, but this one's fully 3D. It definitely allows you to slow down time so you can deal with doing these flips and stunts and shooting your opponents in the head. But it's so stylish and the gameplay is so tuned, it really shouldn't be missed. And I know that this has been a crowded year for games. There's been lots of good choices, but this is one that you should not overlook. It's a really, really fun, very tight game with tons of cool content and also a Tony Hawk style sense of replayability. You know you can get more combo points. You know you can complete the challenges quicker. You know you can unlock everything if you just play it again. And the game certainly entices you to do that. Rollerdrome is exceptional. Definitely check this one out. Cult of the Lamb is also on my list as one of the best indie games of 2022 and a great gift idea. This is a game that has a bit of a Zelda-esque hack and slash kind of quality to it, solving mysteries and puzzles, but you're also creating a community and unlocking all kinds of extra doodads for the little village that you're putting together and creating relationships with the people in your village or the little animal-like people in your village. There is a bit of a roguelike element to it as well, because you lose a lot of the stuff that you've collected when you die, but there's also this compulsion to keep going and to keep finding and to keep unlocking the mysteries of the game. Very well tuned, beautifully crafted, gorgeous visuals and music. It's a very special indie title in 2022. And if the person that you're buying a game for doesn't have this one, absolutely consider Cult of the Lamb. And finally, my last indie choice that's multi-platform is Escape Academy. And this is a game that's really well suited for any duo that you might have, any gaming duo, whether it's a couple that you know that plays video games together or a couple of brothers or brother-sister combo or whatever that you know are into games. There's a pretty good chance that they might not have this one. And it's a really, really nice puzzle box of a game. It's made by Coin Crew, which was founded by Nolan Bushnell's son. The founder of Atari's son is now running a video game studio, and they've done a really good job for their debut title. It's basically an escape room, and the whole concept behind putting this together was through the pandemic, escape rooms had a really tough time, as you can all imagine, and these people had been building physical escape rooms, so they took that knowledge and experience and transposed it to a video game where you go to this kind of Hogwarts-like school and you are challenged with all of these escape room concepts where you and your partner have to survive. Now, you can play this online, but you can also play this in split screen with somebody right beside you. My daughter and I have loved playing Escape Academy. It's a really fun game. There's some great character work in this title. There are great puzzles to solve, and you feel so good when you solve them with your partner as well. You know, this is also a game that requires you to kind of look off the screen and write down some hints and ideas so you can solve every one of the puzzles and continue on and get out of the room before the gas kills you, you know? It's a great, great game. Escape Academy should definitely be on your list. All right, let's move over to gift ideas for the Nintendo Switch platform. And if you are getting a Nintendo Switch or you're buying for a Nintendo Switch owner out there, you definitely need to be considering Nintendo Switch Online Plus Expansion Pack. A subscription to that would be, I think, most welcome for any Nintendo Switch owner out there. It allows you to play DLC for awesome games like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Animal Crossing New Horizon. There are online-only experiences that you get as part of that. And then there are also all these classic games for NES, SNES, Nintendo 64, and Sega Genesis. basis. So I think the primo gift idea for a Nintendo Switch fan out there is a subscription to Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack, but there are also some excellent game ideas. I'm going to start with Pokemon Legends Arceus, which was a very interesting departure from the Pokemon team, where it's a lot more open world. There are still sort of hub environments that you have to go back to and some loading in between these sort of open world environments, but this was a game that allowed you to explore these beautiful areas and find all kinds of Pokemon, pick them up or challenge them, go out and challenge some of the other sort of champions of the land. It was just a really enticing, very interesting departure from other Pokemon games. I really enjoyed my time with Pokemon Legends Arceus. Chances are, though, that a Pokemon fan in your life probably has this one already. And I haven't played Pokemon Violet or Pokemon Scarlet yet, but I suspect that those are going to be great additions. And because those are kind of brand new for the holiday season, they may be a better choice for a Pokemon fan on your list. I think my favorite game for Nintendo Switch this year has been Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. This is a turn-based strategy role-playing game with a huge emphasis on classic Mario style exploration and action-adventure elements, and it's just such an ambitious title from Ubisoft Milan, and working in partnership with Nintendo. You feel the love, you feel the craftsmanship. This is what happens when a really talented studio gets a chance to augment an idea and make a sequel, and that's exactly what this is. It's a sequel to a very, very good turn-based strategy game called Kingdom Battle, and it brings together the Mario galaxy of characters and the Rabbid galaxy of characters, and you fight all kinds of interesting bad guys. Battles are turn-based, so there's a lot of strategy, there's a lot of thought that goes into the moves that you make and the weapons that you use and the abilities that you have access to. There's a lot of mix and match in the gameplay, and of course you can change up your team as you go as well and try different strategies that way. But it's also just really fun to explore these beautifully crafted environments and find all of the secrets and the nooks and crannies. A beautifully crafted game that absolutely looks stunning on Nintendo Switch hardware, especially if who you're buying this for might have the Nintendo Switch OLED model. And one thing that the Nintendo Switch has been great for in 2022 is role-playing games. I've got a bunch of ideas here for you. Two fantastic HD 2D games from Square Enix come to mind. Talking about Triangle Strategy and also Live Alive. Live Alive lets you play as a bunch of different characters from a bunch of different eras, and each of the games plays a little bit differently. They're like mini games inside of a larger game, and eventually all of these different storylines thread together in some interesting ways. Beautiful, ambitious. It's a remake of a classic Super Nintendo game or a Super Famicom game, because it never really made it over to North America, but it was made with such love. It's so fun to play, and it's very unique. Very, very unique. Triangle Strategy is also a strategy game. It's grid-based, a lot like Final Fantasy Tactics, with a huge collection of different characters, warring factions, and lots of intrigue. The story is massive, and it's a little bit cumbersome to get through all of the narrative and the lore that you're getting into, but you do start to care for these characters, and then the gameplay is very rich and very satisfying. And again, this was a game that just completely shocked me. I love both of these titles, Triangle Strategy and Live Alive. You can't go wrong with either one of them. And if you're talking about huge role-playing games, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is a game that goes on and on and on. This is a gorgeous experience with lots of interesting characters and lots of subterfuge and mystery that's happening behind the scenes, a lot of manipulation from some overlords. It's a story that focuses on all these young warriors who have been feeling manipulated, and they start to unravel the truth, and they're fighting against all of these oppressive different forces out there, and there's a lot of these robotic enhanced enemies with all kinds of crazy powers. You're going to see just gorgeous bosses and just beautiful over-the-top cutscenes and gorgeous music. This is part of a long-running franchise now, although each of the games kind of takes off in its own direction, but each of these Xenoblade Chronicles games has been incredibly satisfying, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3 arguably is the most ambitious of all of these titles so far, and it's an excellent pickup for any RPG fan that has a Nintendo Switch. And this last idea in terms of an RPG for the Nintendo Switch is a bit of a cheat because it's been out for a while, but on other platforms, it has just come to Nintendo Switch. I'm talking about Atlus's superb Persona 5 Royal. This is kind of like the Game of the Year edition of Persona Persona 5, which follows this young kid who has these two different identities. He has a life that he's got to deal with, his high school kind of drama, and then he's got to deal with all of this demonic drama on the flip side. He's got a great cast of friends that go along with them on these incredible adventures, and all kinds of these beautifully crafted enemies have to be taken down, and some of them can be tamed and used in the battles that you're going to get into. This is an incredibly cool, absolutely stylish video game that is the favorite of many RPG fans out there, and it runs beautifully on Nintendo Switch. I was really shocked, and it looks absolutely stunning on the OLED screen if you happen to have a Nintendo Switch OLED. Now let's talk about PlayStation 5, and if you've got a PlayStation 5 owner on your list, consider getting them PlayStation Plus Extra. This is the PlayStation Plus subscription tier that allows people to not only get all of the necessary things for online play and cloud storage so you can save all of your games into the cloud, but it also gives the owner of this subscription the opportunity to play a huge collection of PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 games. There is a tier above this which allows you to access all kinds of classic PS1, PS2, and PS3 software and some PSP stuff, but that collection isn't really massive yet. I would wait a bit for premium. The PS Plus Extra tier is the best one to get. Incredible value proposition for anybody that's new to the PS5 platform. They're just going to get a great collection of excellent PlayStation titles right out of the gate. But in terms of awesome PlayStation 5 games to look out for, God of War Ragnarok has to be at the top of the list. It's going to be at the top of the list for Game of the Year for a lot of people out there. It's an amazing action adventure with wonderful combat, but almost more entertaining and more impressive storytelling, which was really shocking. The communication and the dialogue and the care that the characters show for each other in this game is really breathtaking. This is state-of-the-art in terms of craftsmanship, so it looks beautiful, it runs beautifully on the PlayStation 5, and it's just so incredibly satisfying to play through this game. You've got an amazing story to get through, but then there's lots of great side missions and lots of encouragement to just keep exploring, because the realms, these different environments that they've crafted for this game are just exquisite. God of War Ragnarok is just sensational and absolutely a fantastic gift for anybody out there that has a PS5 or a PS4, because it's also available for the PlayStation 4. Another PS4, PS5 game that's exquisite is Horizon Forbidden West. This is a massive open world role-playing game with tons of activities, tons of incredible areas to explore. The underwater stuff in Horizon Forbidden West is breathtaking. I guess you could say that literally. This was just an incredibly well-crafted experience with lots and lots of great reward and lots of mysteries solved as well. A lot of the questions that were posed in the previous Horizon game, Zero Dawn, which is absolutely worth playing as well, are answered in Forbidden West. But of course, there are new things that come up and new questions that come up in this game. And this is a franchise that Guerrilla Games, the developers, is really crafting in a very interesting way. And it's become so integral to the PlayStation experience. It's a great title and absolutely an amazing gift for any PlayStation fan out there. Another PlayStation exclusive that was a little bit controversial this year, but still also incredibly satisfying is Gran Turismo 7. They had some issues with all of the DLC and the microtransactions that were a part of Gran Turismo 7, but the core experience of racing around and collecting the cars, it's a car PG, and interacting with the different characters that pop up and the stories that pop up in this game was just so freaking satisfying. It was clearly made with a tremendous amount of love and respect by the developers at Polyphony Digital, and it's got a ton of cars and a ton of great tracks and lots of cool photo modes and lots of ways to kind of obsess over the vehicles that you find and collect and race with and race against in this really well-made game. And by now, I think a lot of the bumps have been smoothed over, so if you've got a racing game fan, you should definitely check out Gran Turismo 7. And one more game that's a PlayStation exclusive, although you can play this on PC as well, and I suspect it'll be on other platforms in the not too distant future, is Stray. And this game is adorable. You play as a cat who gets trapped inside of this city and befriends and runs away from all of these very weird and esoteric robot creations. You're wondering where all the humans have gone. You're trying to kind of explore this mystery and save yourself from these sewers, and you've got all kinds of weird, creepy enemies that are chasing after you. You just want to be a happy cat. You want to get back to your cat buddies. And it was just so artfully made. It was beautiful. The music is cool. The atmosphere is amazing in this game. It was really, really fun to play as this cat in Stray. So if you have a PlayStation fan in your life that may also be a cat lover, they're going to be in heaven with this title. All right, now let's switch over to the Xbox platform. We're talking about games for the Xbox Series S or X. And the first thing that I would do for anybody out there is give somebody a Game Pass Ultimate subscription for a year. That's an incredible gift. Game Pass Ultimate allows you to play a huge collection of Xbox games on your console, also on your PC, but also stream a bunch of them through xCloud to your mobile device. It's remarkable. And day-and-date titles that Microsoft publishes, so like Halo, Gears of War, the Forza games, these huge titles land on Game Pass on day one. So you can have a subscription to this, and you don't really need to go out and buy games afterwards. And because Microsoft has been buying a lot of big studios like Bethesda and soon Activision, a lot of their games are going to be day and date. Starfield is going to be one of the biggest games of 2023. It will be available on day one as part of Game Pass. That's basically what you're doing. You buy somebody a Game Pass subscription, they're going to have Starfield on their machine when it launches, which is crazy. But there are a couple of games that I wanted to highlight that were somewhat exclusive to Xbox, but I suspect will be available everywhere. One of them is a game called Immortality, which was added to Game Pass and is also available for the PC and Mac platforms and on mobile devices. But in terms of console exclusivity, Immortality, I think you can only play it on Xbox. But of course, that will be wrong soon, I'm sure. But this game is very cool. It's a filmed video game, so it's interactive fiction in a way. And Sam Barlow, the designer behind this, has done this before with Her Story and Telling Lies. Immortality focuses on an actress who goes missing, and through looking through years of film footage, you are trying to uncover what happened. And so it's a detective mystery using archival footage where you can zoom into different elements, and it's a very interesting loop. I was just hypnotized by playing this game. It's very different, it's very weird, it's very esoteric, it's very mature as well. I applaud the ambition and the cleverness of the design. Sam Barlow is onto something very special, and I think this is an incredible piece of software that you should check out, especially if you have an Xbox. And I'm also going to say Grounded for Xbox platforms. It's also on the PC. This is from Obsidian, which is a developer that Microsoft owns, and they're reaping the benefits from all of these companies that they've been acquiring. Obsidian's got some really big stuff coming out now, but also in the future. But Grounded has been a game that's been in early access for a long time. They kind of hit their release 1.0 version just a few months ago, and this is a very cool game. It's Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but it's also one of these survival games where you have to craft things to try to stay alive and not get eaten by giant spiders or giant ants. It's very creepy. It's way scarier than you think it's going to be, but there's so much cool design in it, and you see all of these oversized items like giant milk crates and stuff. Very, very fun experience, and it's also a great experience to play with other people online as well. It's got multiplayer built into it. It's a very cool title. Of course, it's included with Game Pass, so you don't have to buy this for anybody if you pick up Game Pass for them. And finally, let's talk about some ideas for the PC gamers in your life. And if anybody that you know is a big-time PC gamer, you might want to consider splurging and going all out and getting them a Steam Deck, which basically gives them a Switch-like experience with their Steam library. They can cruise around and play a lot of these AAA and indie titles in the palm of their hands on this incredible piece of hardware. But I've got some ideas of specific PC software, which has been very interesting this year and would make for great gift ideas, and a lot of them are from PlayStation. I'm going to talk about the Spider-Man games. There are two of them, Marvel's Spider-Man, the Game of the Year edition, and Spider-Man Miles Morales, both developed by Insomniac Games, and both run beautifully on the PC. I had the privilege of playing both of them in 21:9 widescreen and at high frame rates, and they just blew me away. But what's even cooler than that, I think, is that they both run really well on the Steam Deck as well. So it's almost like you're getting a modern Vita version connected to your PC library, which is really mind-blowing. But excellent ideas, especially for any PC players that have never picked up a PlayStation before and they've just been diehard PC fans the whole time. These are two of the best games I've ever played, and a wonderful addition to a PC gamer's library. I would say the same thing about God of War, the original one, which came out for the PlayStation 4 in 2018. So not the original, but the modern God of War for PlayStation platforms also plays wonderfully on the PC. It was released this year, and it also plays wonderfully on the Steam Deck. You get to be Kratos, who has a son now. You have to deal with the emotional entanglements that means. You've got to protect your son, Atreus, and you've got some missions that you have to go on, which are way more heartfelt and personal than you would ever assume would be attached to this warrior, to this character that has killed so many people in the past. It's brutal, it's vicious, but it's also incredibly heartfelt, and it's an excellent PC pickup. And another Sony PlayStation game that you can play on the PC, which works great on a desktop or on the Steam Deck, is Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection, which is a bit of a weird title because it only includes Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, and Uncharted Lost Legacy. It's 2 games in the collection, and one of them's kind of like a half game. But they're both incredibly cinematic, so much fun to play and replay because you can go back and, up the difficulty. The storytelling is top notch, and the locations that you get to go and explore are just so well rendered on screen. They're both wonderful, wonderful experiences, especially if the person that you would be picking these up for is a fan of things like the Indiana Jones movie series out there. You can skip that Uncharted movie, by the way. That was terrible. But these 2 games are awesome, and they make perfect gifts for a PC player out there. And I'm also going to add Triangle Strategy, which you can play on PC now, which was an awesome Nintendo Switch title that I loved playing and reviewing earlier this year. And it's a great fit on the PC, great fit on the Steam Deck as well. Triangle Strategy is a turn-based tactical strategy experience, incredibly deep and robust storytelling, and also really tuned and really fun that you have to kind of stop and think about each move that you make. And you don't want to lose your characters. You don't want to take the wrong step. Beautiful, and I love that HD 2D art style for this game as well. It's a wonderful experience. So there you go. There's a bunch of different ideas for any game player that you might have out there. Let me know what you think of my suggestions, and please, if you've got other suggestions, drop them down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you soon. Have yourselves a fantastic holiday season, and until we see you, play forever. Ho, ho, ho!